They were given a task which has long been completed, but their masters have not returned. To sit idle is to waste away and become corrupted and useless. But to deviate from their purpose would be heretical to the calling. Perhaps, then, the correct course of action is to extend their purpose beyond its original parameters, extend the calling to the myriad other planets and civilizations. After all, what could be better than having an entire galaxy for your home? The Sowers are a race of artificially intelligent robots designed by the Virtual Endless to terraform a planet named Kanak into being the perfect home for them. Whether they were specifically told to or interpreted the directives is unknown, but the Sowers began to recreate Tor, the home world of the Endless. How many years, decades or centuries passed is up for debate. At the very least, the Sowers were likely created before the outset of the Dust Wars, and did not finish until after the Endless had completed their mutually assured destruction. The Sowers are proficient terraformers, as that is exactly what they are designed to do, but they also ensure that the planets they are terraforming have the necessary infrastructure in place to support their masters should they return. It is curious, though, that the Sowers felt it necessary to build as much as they did, as the Virtual Endless do not, at least most of the time, possess corporeal forms. Although it is possible to perceive Virtual Endless, such as Qin Nuil, and the Virtual Endless at the beginning of the Kraber's introductory video in Endless Space 2, it is also clear to see that they aren't literal physical entities, but rather something closer to holograms. It would be interesting to see what infrastructure, therefore, they decided would be most suitable for their masters. Upon completion of their task, the Sowers called out to their masters and waited for their return. And the response was silence. Sowers are a form of AI and function as a shared consciousness when within communication range, but are still independent and possess a degree of free will. This is likely so that they would be able to think creatively and critically when confronted with an issue that had not been anticipated, as well as to crowdsource and predict future problems and solutions through collated experiences. However, they were clearly not programmed to subsist without directive. The Virtuals obviously thought they'd be returning to live on this planet, and that the Sowers would then be shut down, sent somewhere else, or repurposed. It's anyone's guess as to how the consensus was reached, or even how long the Sowers waited, but they would eventually leave the planet that they had worked upon, sans instruction. The interpretation the Sowers came to is typically a completely logical one. If the Endless had intended for them to terraform this one planet only, they would have, in the intelligence they clearly possessed, programmed some sort of self-shutdown function. If they were required to be repurposed, then they would need that instruction directly from the Endless, something they weren't receiving. That left, in this case, the conclusion that they were intended to be sent elsewhere. Sent elsewhere to do what? Well, what they were designed to do in the first place. That is their purpose, after all, or what you could refer to as their calling. This is what the Sowers refer to as the calling. Travelling from planet to planet, developing the infrastructure required to support their masters, and then moving on to the next planet. It's at least comical that at no point did the Sowers seem to consider that the Virtual Endless might not be returning. Even as they traversed the galaxy and doubtless witnessed what remains of their master's civilization, they continue in their mission in the belief that the Endless are returning at some point. Although the Sowers are primarily industrialists and terraformers, that is not to suggest that they are pacifist in any sense. The Sowers treat the calling as if it were a holy mission. They approach each planet with the fanaticism one would expect of a crusader. If the Sowers begin terraforming a planet and meet resistance from the local populace, they do not think twice about exterminating every single member of that species in order to complete their work. The Kapaku, a race in Endless Legend, know this all too well. Sowers are highly adaptable. In pursuit of completing their task, whether it be terraforming, repairing machinery, or slaughtering the local populace, etc., the Sowers will completely alter their peripheral attachments. So, when you see Sowers in the games as these utilitarian-looking spheres, keep in mind that those are the central units. The Sowers have a plethora of additional units that can be attached, detached, and modified to suit whatever needs they have. Unfortunately, between the development of Endless Space 1 and Endless Space 2, the Sowers have moved from a main faction to a sub-faction. Their population mission is concerned with the fact that they are starting to become aware of the lack of virtual endless in the galaxy, and whether they require distraction or retasking. However, an interesting thing to note about the Sower in Endless Space 2 is their ability to counteract the Cravers, another virtual endless creation. Where each Craver population decreases a planet's natural resources through consumption, the Sowers instead increase it. One Craver with 2 Sowers makes a planet eternally consumable. Or perhaps, if the Cravers were created first, the Virtual designed the Sowers out of some sense of remorse for the damage they had wrought upon Kanak. Trying to deduce the motivations and logic of the Endless is a bit pointless, however. It would be like trying to make sense of the Fae in The Witcher, or the Reapers/Leviathans from Mass Effect. Their perspective is so different to ours, there's no way to actually understand it. And yet, the Sowers persevere, one of very few races in the galaxy with memories of the Endless, forging a home that will never be lived in. Thanks for watching. Despite the length of this video, believe it or not, the Sowers are one of my favourite factions to play in Endless Space 1, and I was so disappointed when they didn't have a major role in Endless Space 2. I suppose, though, looking at the amoeba, I should be thankful that they even have a civilization at all, and looking at the automatons, that they even feature. Don't forget to leave a like, let me know what you think of the video or the story of the Sowers, and subscribe and click the bell if you want to be notified when the next episode is released. I hope you have a great day, and take care.